if I would have stayed in my corporate America job, I would have never owned a Lamborghini, a Tesla, a rolls-royce, a Bentley. Absolutely not.
You tired of being poor, broke? This guy's going to teach you how not to be that.
Today's guest is Henry Gonzalez. From law enforcement officer to multi-business owner, real estate investor, and coach, Henry's built a remarkable career and helped others achieve their goals. Join us as Henry opens up about the challenges he overcame growing up, shares actionable tips to help you achieve your own definition of success, and reveals his inspiring story of resilience after facing a major health battle. Thank you, Henry, for joining us.
Henry, where are you from?
Guatemala. Yeah, my nationality is Guatemala, 100%.
So you were born there.
Born.
How were the first few years of your life in Guatemala?
Tough. I grew up in Guatemala until the age of 10, about 10 and a half. It was tough. We were poor. We were very poor, man. Very poor. A lot of beans. We were just talking about that. I ate a lot of beans. I used to hate eating so much beans that at one point in my life, I didn't want to eat beans no more. I was like, I'm done eating beans. And then recently I realized how much I was missing out with every time I eat beans. Beans are really good for you.
It's true. A lot of nutritional value.
Yes. But yeah, it was a tough childhood.
All right. So at what age were you imported into the United States?
Yeah, I'm an importer. So my mom left Guatemala to the States when I was 6 years old. So at the age of 10 and a half is when she was finally able to, she became a citizen and she was able to bring us over to the States. So yeah, it was about 10 and a half when I came to New York City.
We had an episode when a similar story, that the mom had to leave the children behind.
Right. And
this is exactly what happened to you. The mom says, "Adios, mijo."
Yeah.
Packs her bags and takes off and then has to send for you.
And I didn't realize how important it is in the development of a child when the mother leaves them or they're separated during that particular age.
Trauma.
Yeah, there is a level of trauma and separation anxiety and all that. And it's funny you say goodbye mijo, because I didn't get a goodbye. My mom actually chose, and I'm not her fault. She just did what she felt was appropriate at the time. She chose not to tell me. So I used to sleep with my mom in the bed every night, and when I woke up one morning, she was gone. And I was like, "Oh, where's my mom?" And I'm looking around for my mom, and my great-grandmother at the time, not the greatest person in the world, she's like, "Your mom is gone. You see that plane that just flew? That's where she is. She gone." And I was like, "What the?" So, and that's how I found out, and I just couldn't understand. At 6 years old, I couldn't understand.
How do you feel at that age, learning your mom's gone?
Yeah, so it was very difficult. You don't understand. You cry a lot. 6 years old. Eventually, I found a way to communicate with my mom or feel close to my mom by looking at the stars. So you see a segment of stars, and I'll be like, all right, so if she's looking at those stars right now, then we are somehow connected. All she has to do is look at those stars. So I'll just stare at these stars. And if she happens to look up, then we're connected. And that, I will cope through little methods like that. As a kid, it was just bizarre. It was weird.
Wow.
That's hard.
That's crazy. Yeah, I hate to bring up those memories, but it's important because it helps someone who hasn't gone through that understand the struggles that us as immigrants have to put up with.
Correct.
That's ridiculous. So how did you guys reconnect?
Well, once my mom brought me, she flew us right into New York City. She had an apartment there with my dad, 1-bedroom apartment for a total of 6 kids and 2 adults. At first, it was very difficult, and I didn't know it. So I was misbehaving. I was a little bit angry at my mom. In fact, I was jealous of my dad at the time, not my biological dad, but we call him dad because he raised us. So I had a little bit of difficulty adjusting. I was a little bit angry as a kid at my mom. Eventually, I came to realize that she did the best that she could, and thank God that she did, because that's why we're here now. Had she not sacrificed and made that decision, God knows what would happen. And I was destined to be a bad kid. My dad was not a good guy. My biological dad was, they called him sangre de macho. He was a bad dude, man. He was up to no good. He was doing a lot of bad things in Guatemala. Eventually, he got kidnapped and disappeared.
Wow.
They disappeared him. So
Was your mom still there when that happened? Or?
she was in Guatemala when that happened. Yeah, I was only 2 months old, or around that age when it happened. So I never got to actually meet him. But we were destined to become just like our dad. I have to walk. My brother and I have to walk, and it's a bad walk. We walk like we want trouble. We don't want any trouble, but and we were a little bit angry kids. We loved to fight and do cause all kinds of issues. So we're destined to go on a bad path. I think my mom making that decision to come to the States was the best thing that could happen to us.
Wow, and it's challenging to understand that at that age, and it's not till years later when you're an adult and you're making tough choices,
right?
That you sit back and realize, hey, mom, thank goodness for her. Where's your mom now?
Yeah, she lives here in Richmond. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet her one day.
Yeah. She's a great woman. Great. I admire her. She's a great leader. She's 70 years old now. And my mom is not the easiest person to understand, because you have to understand her history, and the things that she went through as a child. She had her own challenges, a lot of beatings, a lot of the craziness that we hear in Latin America. But yeah, she's a great woman, great leader. I admire her, man. She's strong. To come through the border as a female, single female, I won't do it myself. And I consider myself pretty tough. I would not go through a freaking desert. You know what I mean? And she did it. Yeah. And just like that, I think that's the story, like you said, of a lot of Latinos. And that, hence why, when I hear some of these stories, because there's thousands of stories just like mine, I can understand what they're going through. It's a tough challenge. It's a tough road or decision to make to come across the border.
A lot of risks involved.
Yeah, a lot of desperation, need, hunger. We're not doing it because we don't like our beautiful tropical countries. We're coming here because we have to.
So you've come a long way since then. Yes. Maybe a tad, right?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yes.
So tell us about your successes here in the States.
Well, for one, I've stayed positive, regardless of what challenges we go through. So I think that's a huge success. Business-wise, I have been fortunate to have the opportunity to start some businesses, and they've done well. In Richmond in 2008, one of the first businesses we started was a limousine company, first-class limousine, and it did pretty well. It took a little bit of time. It took about 2.5 years for it to kick off, but then we got a deal with a guy called Steven Spielberg, and that just changed the course of our company. And then the number of celebrities like Daniel Radcliffe, Bruce Springsteen, President George Bush, W. Bush, President Barack Obama, to be able to provide services to that caliber of client, shake their hands. For a Guatemalan kid who was eating nothing but frijoles at one point, running around with just a shirt and sometimes underwear, maybe no shirt, no shoes. Now I'll be shaking the hands of 2 U.S. presidents. It's amazing. So
that's impressive.
Been fortunate.
Surreal. It's a surreal experience, I'm sure.
It is surreal. But the opportunities are here. The one thing I don't think that I am special. I think that it's just how hard you want to work, how much you want it, and anyone can do it.
You had mentioned you used to live in New York. What was it like growing up in New York in comparison to growing up in Guatemala? Was that a big... they're probably both two really busy cities, but I'm sure New York was...
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it's like night and day. You go from a place where there's absolutely no technology, very few people, to New York City, the capital of the world, where people are stacked in rows up to 10, 15 stories high. One word I don't like to use in business or in my life is overwhelmed, but it was overwhelming at first. as a Guatemalan kid, I was very timid. My mom always taught us to be polite, be cordial, wait your turn. In New York, you got to be aggressive. You can't wait your turn. You got to make your turn.
Yeah.
And so it was challenging, but it was like going to school. It's a great school. New York City will teach you some stuff, man. You better hustle. You're gonna stay behind, and that's the way it worked. That's how it worked for us. At first, I didn't like it, and then we had to deal with the, diversity. My dad now was from Puerto Rico, and he called it habichuelas. I was like, it's not habichuelas, it's frijoles. Like, no, comete la habichuela. No, son frijoles. So you had to learn about the different cultures. Mm-hmm. Primarily Dominican and Puerto Rican was the in Washington Heights, the population. You wouldn't see many Salvadorians, Honduras, or Central Americans or Guatemalans in New York City at that time. So I got picked on a lot. My hair was different; it was not Afro hair. Yeah. So and Puerto Rican and Dominican kids have a little bit more like Afro hair. So they'll be like, look at his hand's funny, and then they'll start trying to touch it and mess with me and stuff.
Oh, the kids can be mean.
Yeah, kids are cruel, Mm-hmm. But those same kids taught me to not let people touch my hair. Mm-hmm. Stop, and fight for, stand up for myself. And to this day, I think those lessons are what has helped me in a lot of ways.
It was a good learning experience then.
Yes, it was. New York City taught me a lot. We still go visit. We don't like to stay more than 48 hours, but...
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So at what point did you decide, when I grow up, I'm going to carry a weapon, I'm going to have a badge, and I'll be putting you in cuffs if you keep this kind of behavior?
Okay. Yeah, so it's interesting, and I'm going to be very candid with you. When I was 15 years old, I was actually arrested for possession of a stolen vehicle. Okay. That was my first arrest. When I was 16 years old, I was arrested for assault on a police officer. I was in the wrong path. I went from being polite and waiting for my turn to taking over my turn, and I was just out of control. I was an out of control teenager. I don't know where that came from, what that aggression came from. My environment was definitely more in Washington Heights, is the ghettos of New York. And there, that's what it's criminal activity. And I was well destined to go in that path. At some point, when I was in my 17 or 18 years old, I started to change. I made a conscious decision. We were talking about that earlier, that I had to accept the help that was being given to me by the school system, counselors, mom, everybody else, and start accepting that I was not a bad guy, that I was a good guy. And then I was approached by the guardian angels in New York City in the subway, which is very rare. That's very odd that will happen. There's guardian angels in New York, but you rarely see them. And I was approached by them, and they were like, "Hey man, why don't you join us?" And that's when I started kind of fighting crime. That's where it all started. I joined the guardian angels, the New York City guardian angels. So I would patrol the subways with my red beret. My guardian angel shirt. They trained us in martial arts, no weapons. And we would take down criminals,
They give you a purpose.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do they have chapters throughout the nation? You're teaching me something here.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there something here in Richmond?
There is one in Richmond, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep. As you can see, you can imagine they're not as popular. It's very dangerous to be walking the streets without a firearm. There's a lot more firearms here in the U.S. now in the streets than there were back then. But yeah, that's how it all started. And then eventually, I was like, oh man, I kind of like this fighting crime thing. And I signed up for an internship with the NYPD. And the program required you to stay there for like a year. I ended up staying 5 years with the NYPD. So I wore the NYPD uniform, patrol the streets in Washington Heights. And I liked putting criminals away. Then I joined the police department here in Richmond. In 2019, I joined the police department here and stayed a little bit over 2 years. I was there during the riots in 2020. Not a fun time to be a cop, but I did it. I still do like the police work itself, I didn't like the politics at the time, but so I got out in 2021. I left the police department and started my own investigations company.
Tell us about that. That's a good segue.
Yeah. So Allied Investigations is a company that I started. It was just me. I went through the Division of Criminal Justice, got certified, and launched this private investigations business. And I was fortunate enough to land a corporate contract. And it wasn't a contract per se, but it's a corporate account. They don't, they didn't have, we don't have exclusivity with this agencies, but so we started landing law firms. Now I've hired, three former state troopers that are helping me do the investigations. But we primarily do like corporate stuff. So crashes, car crashes, insurance claims, and that sort of thing.
Like insurance fraud?
It's more like civil lawsuits,
Okay.
but having to do with insurance companies. Yeah.
Got it.
Could I hire you to follow my husband around? I'm just kidding.
You can.
She offers you. I'll double it.
You can. So 51% of the business is infidelity. I purposely, I chose not to do just that side of the business. At least not right now. Once the company grows, big enough, then it's inevitable. You have to do it. In order to have a successful business, you have to tap into that 51%. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table, and that's not the point of having a business. But me personally, I just prefer not to do that. We have done a few cases, and there are more and more requests. So, depending on the case-by-case basis, we analyze it, and if it makes sense, then we'll take an infidelity or spousal, conflict, divorce challenges, conflicts, and stuff. We'll take a case like that.
Can you do the human polygraph like in Meet the Parents and just grab?
No, I hate those things, by the way. I hate those things, but yeah, no. So we're the investigations business is actually a lot of fun. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to have, for at least for what we do, you have to have a police background. To be a private investigator, you do not have to be a former law enforcement officer. But for what we actually do, the work we do, you got to understand, because we interview a lot of officers and stuff, and police officers, state troopers, and you got to know what you're talking about. These guys are not going to give you the time of day if you're not.
You don't speak the same language.
Correct. Yeah.
So what's next in that business? You said for it to grow. What's the challenge you're facing now, and how can you put it to where you want it to be?
Good question. So the biggest challenge is a bit, it's sort of what you said earlier. It's what a good problem to have. Our biggest challenge is the workload. Is so much work, and not enough qualified, personnel. Pool. To pull from, to hire. They're very, very difficult to find qualified individuals who can do and want to do this type of work.
Right. So the three former state troopers, are they retired or
right.
are they just?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They just want to stay busy.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you like to use the word overwhelmed. What do you replace it with?
Right. So we didn't look for a replacement for that word. I think that, and one of the things that I always practice is, stay positive. Don't focus on the negative. You start saying this is overwhelming or it's going to overwhelm me. You're already putting yourself out of walls.
Failure.
Yeah. Don't use that word. If it's challenging, we'll meet the challenge. We'll meet it where it is, and we'll beat it. But it's a mindset thing for me. You got to change your mindset. We're gonna win. No matter what. We're gonna come out a little bruised up. We're gonna come out a little blood, but we're gonna win. We're gonna win this fight no matter what.
It's amazing. So you watch your vocabulary because that already sets a pace.
Sets the tone. Yeah, absolutely. I think that when there was a magazine that asked me about 2 decades ago when we started a company that was doing really well in Richmond, and they asked me, what is your secret? And there really is no secret. For me, it was always mindset. You have to believe that the horse that you're getting on is going to win, and get on that bad boy and run it like it's going to win. And that's, so you got to, but it's a mindset thing, right? So if you start doubting yourself, the other thing is overthinking things, right? I learned this from it's not original for me. I learned it from a motivational book that I used to listen to these audios. This guy said, if you overthink things, the best way to climb a mountain is just to start walking. If you start measuring the mountain, going around the mountain, talking about the mountain, getting the equipment for the mountain, you're never going to get to the top. Meanwhile, the guy that started walking is halfway up, up the mountain. So start walking, And I always, when I talked about recipes for starting businesses and making them successful, one of the recipes is start doing it. Start doing it. However it is that you just start doing it. Don't wait for the right equipment. Don't wait for the right, and we talked about this earlier.
Absolutely.
About the equipment. Don't wait for the right people to come by and just do it. Go ahead and jump in, and you'll start seeing things happening the minute you start doing it.
It's amazing. The example I've used, and I can relate with, and I'm sure you can with your law enforcement background, is knowing when to pull the trigger. There's some folks who will shoot from the hip. That's too soon.
Right.
You don't want to do that. Right. There's some folks who will aim, have the target in sight a lot of times.
Right.
No, this is not the perfect shot yet. And you just got to know when to pull the trigger.
Right. Correct.
Take it out and squeeze when it's time.
That's a great analogy, I think. Because you can spend a lot of time cleaning that firearm, preparing it, putting the right sights on it, all this stuff, man. The target may just go right by you.
Right.
And,
It'll come closer at some point, right? It's right there at 50 feet, but I know it'll get closer.
Yeah.
You're going to lose that shot.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to lose. I think, we often hear that, right? So it's, one of my mentors, which is another part of my recipe, is make sure that you get some mentors. If someone is trying to start a business, we don't know everything, right? And we need mentors. Today I spoke to one of my mentors. I won't say his name, but I called him and I needed some guidance in some decisions that I'm making. He's an older guy who's been, in a lot of ways has accomplished a lot more than I have.
Used to be a president of the United States. I get it.
Yeah, well, he could be. And he gave me some good guidance. So I think getting mentors is key. Making sure that you have some mentors is very valuable.
That's wise. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it helps you a lot, in my mind.
I'm speaking to my mentor.
Thank you. I'm flattered. Thank you.
That's great. So success, positive mindset. You've accomplished a lot. So you've got the two businesses we've talked about right now. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have a vision. You've got goals. You own some land. You own some properties. Mm-hmm. How do you get to that level?
Man, it's a lot of hard work. At the end of the day, I think that's one thing that, especially for the new generation, younger folks, we're in a society right now that we see a lot of easy, or at least that's the way it's portrayed sometimes, mm-hmm. is that easy success. And people think, oh, well, I could just do this, and it's a lot of hard work to get to. But as long as it's what you're looking, if it's just your passion, it's going to be enjoyable. So I think that it should be, when you hear about hard work, don't think that it's impossible, right? I've worked really hard and weekends, birthdays. I've missed a lot of quality, time with family. Mm. When a lot of people were clubbing or partying or vacationing, I was out at 2-3 in the morning, working. Where people were there to have fun, I was getting paid to be. I took that quote from Cardi B.
Okay.
Yeah, one of my mentors. Yeah. I would go to places to work, and people were just partying and wasting their lives. So, and I saved a little bit of money. I am a big spender. I like to spend, so I'm not gonna pat myself in the back about saving on that. But I did save a little bit of money. I made some wise investments, and that's how I managed to get a little bit of funding to buy some of the land to start some other businesses. So, yeah.
And that's a good investment. I don't think you lose when you buy land.
Land is a lot of the people that I've studied, and some people may not like this, but and I didn't know this, but I read a lot of business books from Donald Trump. since you mentioned him earlier. I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I'm not endorsing him. I'm not saying that I'm voting for the guy. But I will say, investing in land was one of the things that he talked about in his books. Warren Buffett, same thing. One of the richest man in Richmond, Bill Goodwin, he was in IT, he used to sell computers, but he invested in land and buying properties. He's the richest man in Richmond. So if you just look around and some of these mentors and people that made it happen, and you see the common, techniques, why would you not employ those techniques? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think buying land is a good investment. And
I understand you own properties not just in the States but abroad as well.
Correct. Yes, sir. Thank God. Yes. So the States, we did buy some property, waterfront property that we're investing, that we bought, that we are going to develop at a later point. Right now, the focus is in Guatemala. We're building Airbnbs, and they're going to be specifically luxury Airbnbs. They're not going to be just Airbnbs. They have to be luxurious Airbnbs. We're going for a specific market. So as a result, we had to buy prime locations in some of the most popular tourist sites in Guatemala. Lake Atitlán is very popular, and Antigua, Guatemala is very popular. So that's what we're building right now.
That is excellent. Last time I talked to you, that was in your horizon. I don't think you'd pulled the trigger yet.
Right.
And here we are.
Yeah.
You got that rabbit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's about the vision board, right? So putting things in your, and I think you mentioned something like this earlier too when we were talking about it. Like if you talk about it and you put it in your sights, you're gonna hit it, But if you didn't ever talk about it, when I was 13 years old, growing up in Washington Heights, in the streets, they will sell these posters of Lamborghinis. And I always wanted a Lamborghini. So I bought a poster and put it in my room. And all my friends would be like, what do you mine? And, a friend of mine, older, he was like 15 years old and I was 13. We went to a car show. And I told him, I said, I'm going to buy one of those cars one day. He's like, are you stupid? I said, people like you and I don't buy cars like that. I'm like, why not? He's like, because you will have to, what did he say? He said, you will never make enough. I said, what if I save my money? I never spend any money. I just save it for the Lamborghini. He's like, you will have to live 3 lifetimes before you can save that kind of money. Nonetheless, I said, I'm going to buy one, man. And I did. And I called him, and when I did, I called him and told him, hey, man, I own a Lamborghini now. You're crazy. So yeah.
So you're a vampire, is what you're telling me.
Right. Kinda.
That's amazing. So how many years did it take you to save up to be?
Not 3 lifetimes like he thought.
Yep.
But if I would have followed his advice, and ain't nothing wrong with what he was saying, but he at the time the focus was work for UPS. And that was all throughout my neighborhood. Like that was the thing to do. Like for the new generation, go to apply to UPS or go work for sanitation because you got good benefits. And I just thought, man, that is so short-sighted. Like you can't. Your ambition is just so small. And the whole idea behind benefits. So benefits are important, right? So health benefits are. I have very good reasons to say why health insurance is very important. But that should not be your number one goal. Is to get a job with great benefits. That's secondary. That's a perk. That's it's an add-on. So yeah, I think that's you're right. It's a mindset. I think it's a cultural thing too. Then we need to change our minds that we have to go work for somebody for benefits. Absolutely not. I'll make my own benefits.
Can you say that a little louder for the folks in the back?
Yeah. I don't need your 401k. I'm gonna make my own 401k. You know what I mean? 401 nothing. You go handle your 1%, 50% match. I'm gonna create my own, and that's just the way it is for me. To get to this point, I am very, very, what's the word? So I'm very brave now, but at one point I was very afraid of failure. I was also afraid of leaving my job. You know what I mean? Making that leap, like, oh my God, I'm making good money, 150 grand a year, and I have a check every 2 weeks. And I have great benefits.
Right? Security.
Yeah.
Security.
And I was like, man, I don't know if I should do this. But, eventually I made the leap. And in 2012, I decided to say, that's it, corporate America, I'm done. I loved the office. I had a great office, beautiful corner office, big glass windows. I was telling you, mahogany desk and all that, but none of it was mine. And I didn't know when it was going to be taken away. In their 401k that I still haven't done anything with, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, so I think that it is a mindset. I think that you can create your own wealth. I think you can create your own, your own path. You have to have a little bit of guts, trust in yourself, and then go to work. Mm-hmm. Once you do it, go to work. No one can stop you, man. Your drive is only you can drive. It's your drive. Have at it. Go for it. Outwork. And my mom taught me this. She said to me, I don't care what you do, I don't care if you're going to be a housekeeper. Be the best housekeeper there is among the entire group. I want you to be the best. And I started behaving that way in everything I did. And that's what's kind of helped me a little bit, set me apart. Whatever I do, I'm gonna outwork you. I'm gonna outrun you. And that's, in fact, that was by one of the most successful people in the world. That was one of the secrets. Is what is the secret to success? Is how much can you outwork the guy next to you? That's the recipe of success, and that's what I do.
Provide that value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do something good, but if I do it 3 times better, and because I stay a little later, work a little harder, then naturally I'll probably win. But yeah,
that's crazy. Do you think you would have been able to? We haven't talked about it yet, not here. But do you think you would have been able to own the amount of exotic cars and limos that you did had you stayed in your corporate job? Do you think you would have been able to purchase your properties that you own now had you stayed in your corporate job?
No, absolutely not. There's no
what about
way.
your benefits?
Yeah, I know. I would have had great benefits. But no Lamborghini, no Tesla. When we bought the Tesla 7 years ago, actually more like 8 years ago, people were they still didn't know what a Tesla was. A lot of people, mm-hmm. and the ones that didn't know about it, were like, no, that's not going to work. That's never going to work. A smart car, get out of here. There were self-driven vehicles with no engines, lithium vehicles. But no, if I would have stayed in my corporate America job, I would have never owned a Lamborghini, a Tesla, a rolls-royce, a Bentley. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. You wouldn't have beachfront property overseas either.
Correct.
Or in Guatemala.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. And now I measure my own. I take my own risk. This is my company. It's my business. When we had I say we had, but I didn't have any ownership in it. We started a small company with these guys from Michigan in Richmond. It was. The initial investment was about $20 million, and when we sold the company, it was $393 million. Of that $393 million, I got a good handshake. You did a great job, Henry, and we assure you that you're gonna have a job with the next company. But that's about it. I made a little bit of money. They gave me good promotions, and I could say I was an executive with the phone company. And, it's more of a ego thing than anything else. But I remember those boys went with the $393 million and relaxed, retired. I had to keep working. So I learned a lot of lessons from that experience, and starting your own business, it's not easy because now you got to create your own paycheck. Mm-hmm. And it's a little harder because you got you're it. You got at night you're the one. Your boss is not going to be the one sending you a check. You're going to have to write your own check. And that's tough, but it's very rewarding. It's possible, it's doable, and that check doesn't have to be managed anymore. No one can tell you how big that check is going to be. You are the only one, right? So if you want that check to be big, you make it big, and as simple as that. It's that simple. How much money you want to have in that check, and then you write your own check. Versus your boss telling you, okay, well, here, you're doing great. We'll give you a 3% increase. Oh my God, 3%. Are you out of your mind? No.
It's very inspiring because you come from comfort, having a corporate job, and you know what you're going to get. Right. Taking the leap of faith and doing it all for yourself. It's a big transition. So. Yes.
And at the time, when I quit, I had just gotten a big promotion. Mm-hmm. At the time, the Hostess Solutions, the cloud, the market was just booming, right? And I thought, man, this is the right promotion. I'm going to make a lot of money here. But if I never made that leap, I was like, if I stay here, I'm never going to leave. So that was the right time. They gave me the promotion, and we talked about it earlier. It's on April 1st, April Fools. I had to tell them, I got to go. I have to go. Yeah, and get away from the comfort zone, which is, I'm glad you touched on that. The comfort zone is probably your worst enemy.
Yeah.
When you start feeling comfortable, that's when you need to reinvent yourself. When you feel like, oh my God, I got this in the bag. Nope, you got to reinvent, re-challenge yourself. Reset that, man, because otherwise you'll stay there. You'll stay, and you're not gonna, do or accomplish the things that you ultimately dream of, that you really want to do.
Endless possibilities. So,
yeah. But the comfort zone is the worst enemy. It's like that's, success and comfort zone, they don't hang out together. They're just not friends.
No. True.
No. You got to be uncomfortable and learn. I think it's important to learn how to be uncomfortable. And practice that, and go talk to people, go network, go handshake. Some people don't like that. Sales is important. You have to sell. You have to sell your product. You believe your product is good, but if you never market it, how no one else is going to buy it. You got to have good money, and you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to go meet people, shake hands, and smile, and tell them about it. Tell them what you got.
Some good tips.
Yes.
I didn't always know it though. I had to learn. I had to read a lot of books, and I hate reading. By the way, I'll be honest about it. I do not like reading.
Audiobooks make life easier now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could actually be working, not have to put your eyes on it and continue listening.
And before I forget, one of the things, talking about audiobooks, one of the great schools that I've attended, one of the best universities that I've attended is YouTube. Man, I have learned so much from YouTube. Oh my God. From, a guy like me who doesn't have a high school diploma, I have a GED. I attended college, I did some college courses in police science and stuff like that, but I don't have a college degree. And I hate reading. My attention, my brain just doesn't. YouTube has helped me so much, from giving therapy to my dog who couldn't walk, if we were talking about earlier, he broke his back, and I couldn't afford the surgery. Learning in YouTube how to give him massages, how to water exercises, and got him to walk again, to learning how to wire 66 block on a network interface device, right? To understanding cloud infrastructures and how to wire servers together. It's all there. Instead of watching silly videos and TikTok, YouTube, man, learn about something. Yeah, and like you said, audiobooks, but in the form of, for me, my brain, that's how it works. I have to see it, in the form of a movie or a video.
Visual learner.
Yeah, and I learn that way. It's weird, but that's
we all learn different. No, and that's a good way to learn is visually. I'm the same way. I have to see it done. If somebody can read to me all day, but if I see how you do something, then I'm going to get it a lot faster. So I understand.
And it's important that you recognize it, right?
Mm-hmm,
and then it's important that you discipline yourself to go seek that information, because it's easy. I was telling you earlier. The other day I spent like 30 minutes on TikTok, watching nothing but stupidity, right?
Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you do.
Sometimes you do. But I remember thinking, man, that's 30 minutes of my life that I'm never going to get back. There were some funny videos in there. Oh man, they made me laugh. And it's good for the heart to laugh, so that's good. I'm justifying.
It's like junk food. Every once in a while,
yeah. But you got to recognize that, hey, there's a lot of information, good information that you can go get. So you want to have land in Guatemala? I watch a lot of videos about how to do that. You want to do construction? I am not a builder. I don't know anything about construction, but I watch a lot of videos about that. And through that, I learn about designs that are specific to like waterfront properties, and how to build the pillars and the foundations, and how to meet some and overcome some of the challenges that we were having through YouTube videos. Just educating yourself, and spending your time wisely, having the discipline and the ability to recognize how you learn and go seek the information. I think it's huge.
This is gold. Speaking of which.
Yes. Gold, huge.
Yeah, I see you like to invest in it.
Yes,
Talk
sir.
to us about
Yes,
it.
sir. So one of the things that I've never wore jewelry, right? So, we're going to talk a little bit about gold.
Time out. Next video, I'm going to be sporting not even half the size, but I got
Maybe
a
get you an earring or something.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
you got to do it.
And I'm not making fun. I'm serious.
No,
I'm serious about this. I'm serious.
And the key is making sure that you don't buy 18 carats and under, right? Or you can, you can buy 18 carats, 14 carats, 10 carats, but understand what you're investing in. So gold is not a secret that a lot of wealthy people buy gold by the bars, and they buy these little bars or coins, and they put it in their safes. Mm-hmm. So the very wealthy people are doing it. They're just not showing it off like me, who I came from nothing, so I want to show it off. That's just my personal preference. But you want to make sure that it's 21. If you can get 22 carats, even better. 24, it's a little softer, so you're limited on who's going to buy it. But when the recession hits, gold tends to go up. Mm-hmm. Now, you don't have to buy it in the form of a change. You can buy it in stocks. You can buy, medallions and put them in your safe. Me personally, I decide to wear it. But specifically, I recommend 21 carats and up. And it's a great investment. However you want to do it. You can do it in stocks, you can do it in coins. But if you're going to invest in gold, make sure don't buy 18 carats and under. Yeah.
That's great. And there's a lot of properties to gold that we probably don't even know.
Probably.
I mean, you're showing me that it is worth having.
Yeah, so I thought about that. I was like, why is it? So when I looked at investing in gold, I saw that it goes up during recessions, that the federal bank will buy it from you, no questions asked. They will melt it, and everybody knows this. We just never think about this, that why are they doing this? But they melt it, they convert it into these bars, and they put it in this safe at the Federal Reserve. And they record it in the economy sheets for the United States, where every country does this. And then they go, all right, look how much gold we have. So it dawned on me, like, why is this so important? What are the properties of gold? What do they know that I don't know? So, and what did the Mayans, the Incas, the Aztecs knew about gold, and all these other, the Egyptians and all these other
Bible.
Yeah, and that I don't know. There's something about gold that I think is powerful, but I really don't know about anything like that. Yeah, so I can't really speak to that. So I'm going to only speak to the fact that you can sell it. It goes up in price during a recession if it's the right carat, and you can make good money on it.
I think we're just a couple of YouTube videos away from figuring out the value of gold. We'll do some research.
All right.
And we'll talk again. Good. We'll talk again after.
That sounds good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's eye-opening.
Yeah. And again, it's about, so we're talking about investment, right? So you asked me earlier, like, how do you get to do these things? So it's wise spending. I'm a spender. I'm not and this, I don't want to give the wrong advice. Saving is very important. And I force myself to save. I have to force myself to save. But if you're going to spend, make sure you spend wisely. That that you're spending on the right things.
And I think you're spending it in the right things, because to me, what you're doing is investing more than wasting.
Right.
Saving, I don't think, is necessarily the right answer. Money's losing value as we sit here.
Right.
But if you invest in property, I don't think you can call it completely spending. You're investing.
Right. Yes, thank you for endorsing me.
The same with the chain you're wearing.
Yes.
I don't think that's losing value as we sit here. So,
right.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Let's talk about your health.
Yes.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, the past 2 years have been incredibly challenging. I was having some pains on my feet when I was going to the gym, which I thought was very weird. I went to my primary physician. I was told everything was fine. They did all kinds of checks. And then my doctor said, hey, look, there's the insurance companies now allowing these procedures, these checkups that men should do. Mm-hmm. And I went in and did that. And then I was diagnosed with cancer, stage 3 colon cancer. I thought my life came to an end. There was a period there because they had to do a series of tests before they could determine what kind of, how serious, how aggressive the cancer was, how far my body was spread. They knew that it was spreading, but they didn't know where and how bad it was. And during those, first week or two of testing that I didn't really know, and the doctors didn't know, it was a pretty scary time in my life. I literally had to stop and think about my affairs, making sure that I put things in order, because I didn't want to leave a mess behind, in terms of like debts and unfinished projects and that sort of thing. I had to come to terms with the fact that my life could easily end, and I didn't know if they were going to give me 6 months, if they were going to give me a year, or what. Luckily, they determined that they caught it early enough because I was proactive with the checkup, and through a series of chemo treatment, I still have a port installed in my body. A lot of people don't know that, and they can't even tell. Chemo, radiation, and a series of very tough operations. I am now in remission. I am cancer free. So thank God. Thank God.
Very
God
happy for you, Henry. That is very happy for you. That's fantastic. I've noticed that the beatings that life gives you help build that person that you become. How do you feel that this challenge that you've overcome in the past few years has helped you become the new Henry?
So even more aggressive about everything I want to do. So if I want to take a trip, if I want to invest in something, in fact, once the doctor said, "Look, we think we're ahead of this. We're going to give you some treatment," and the minute they told me that, and they didn't say, "Well, you got 6 months or a year to live," that's when I said we need to start the construction in the properties that we're building in Guatemala, the Airbnbs, even more aggressive. So it's helped me become more appreciative about every day, understanding that every day that we're getting, every day is a gift, that we're not guaranteed tomorrow, Mm-hmm. And I knew that coming up because I saw a lot of friends die and stuff like that, but they never threatened me this directly, and I felt like I had absolutely no control. I put my faith in God. I won't claim to be an overly religious person, mm-hmm. but I do have a relationship with God. I think God exists, and I do talk to Him every day. I put my trust in God, and then I go to work. I told Him, "You let me live, and I'll do the rest, and I will handle the rest." And He's let me live, so I'm going to handle the rest. And
wow.
Amen.
Sounds like you're focused heavily now more on intention, and you've minimized distraction.
Yes, to a certain extent, yeah. And, except those 30 minutes I spend on TikTok.
Yeah, well, you're counting them. I know exactly how much you save for that. Yeah, but it seems to me like everything else is intent. So
it is.
You walk with a purpose.
Yes. And one of the reasons why, and you had asked me before this, is that something that we can talk about? And the answer is yes. And why is that important? I think that it's important that people know, more younger people, men and women, are being diagnosed with cancer for whatever reason. I don't know if it's what we're eating. I don't know if it's the technology. I don't know what it is, but they don't know what it is, or they know they're not telling us. But what is important is to get your checkup. So that's the reason why I'm sharing this. It's very personal. I haven't shared it with any. This is the first time I'm talking about it in public. But the reason I'm doing this is because I think that it's important that people know, especially men. Sometimes we tend not to want to go to the doctor and get our checkups. It's important to get your checkups done, because if you catch it early, the outcome is a whole. It's not an easy trip. It wasn't an easy trip. By God, it was not an easy trip. But at the very least, you get to stay around a little longer. You get to have the trip and be on Earth. Some folks are not able to have that. If they don't get your checkup, and it's too late. It's just too late.
That's very big of you, Henry, to put aside a little bit of your pride to be able to share your experience and encourage folks. I'm 45. Mm-hmm. Encourage folks to get off the couch and go get looked at. So
yeah. That, and So hopefully it helps save someone's life. But I was telling you, someone the other day shared a failure in their life. A friend of mine shared something that didn't work in her life, and she seemed to be distraught by it. it was, it's a business venture that she went on, and it didn't work. And you could tell by the writing on her post that she was really being affected negatively by this. And I shared with her my fight, right? So making sure that people know that, look, man, we're all in some sort of fight. Don't think that because something didn't work for you, a business venture and all that, don't beat yourself up too bad. There's some folks out there like myself who are undergoing chemo treatment, radiation. None of that is fun. But you want to stay positive. Don't give up. Stay positive, no matter what it is. Until you're dead, it's not over. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. And so I think that would be my purpose too, is making sure that people, especially younger folks, know that if you're battling something, whether it's depression, whether it's a business venture that didn't work or a relationship that's not working,
ain't nothing.
Don't let it beat you down, man. This too will pass, but just stay positive. Don't give up.
Wow. Mindset, like you said, keeping that positive mindset.
It is.
It's important. We lose sight of it very easily.
Yes. Yes.
Puts it all in perspective.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. I think it's important to stay positive. Yeah. Mindset. Yeah. It's everything. It's everything. It's crazy. Isn't it crazy? I mean, you were in the service, right? So
was.
Remember that that was one of the in the police academy. It's the same thing. It's the first thing they work on is your mind, making sure your mind is right to tackle all the other stuff you're about to get hit with.
I gave them a challenge. It took them a few years. It was more than just boot camp for me.
Right. I'm sorry to hear that.
I'll tell you, do you think you could have overcome a lot of your obstacles on your own? I'm a big believer that a lot of our support system is, in my case, I've had Anya throughout the years of any struggles I've had. Mm-hmm. She's the one to keep me in check, right. and to kind of slap me around a little bit and say, hey, you know what, this is nothing. I think we got this, right? Do you think you could have done this on your own, or no. Do you have someone you want to give credit to as well?
No. So I think having the right partner is huge. It's half of the battle. So no, yeah, my wife and I have formed a great team. My mentors, my family, and I mentioned the mentors earlier. And I remember one guy, Andre, older guy, when I was in my 22 years old. One of the things that he told me was, show me a man that never failed, and I'll show you a man that never tried. And I took that with me. I was like, man, I got to keep trying, and whatever it is, I'm gonna get it. So no, I think that it's important to have the right partner. My uncle used to tell me when I used to share with him, hey man, I got a new girlfriend. She's pretty. Don't tell me about a pretty girl that you meet. Tell me what she's good for. What is she going to do for you? What is she going? You know what I mean? So I think, especially for younger folks, it's important to understand that picking the right partner is huge. In life, in general, raising kids, starting businesses, just living in general. So
some partners will get you caught up in some trouble. They'll keep you broke.
Yeah.
And you can tell. Yeah. She'll tell you. She was my pretty much my second girlfriend. I didn't have many girlfriends before her.
I'm sorry, look at see how you show you.
But no, I completely agree, and I think that's sound advice. Is you got to choose your partner in crime very well.
Yep.
Because otherwise they'll run you to the ground.
Yeah. And some people are not necessarily bad people. I think, I was telling you earlier, I had a girlfriend at one point, great person, a person of God, and, but she lacked the ambition that I had. I was always running at 1,000 miles per hour, and I was ready to attack things. And she was a little bit more passive. She wanted to be, successful, but she just didn't have the energy, And I felt like it was keeping me from. So I had, I had to break apart, man. I was like that spaceship, a rocket going to the moon. I had to drop those, those two things that were propelling me, because she was not prepared to go where I was going, So I had to drop her and go forward. And nothing bad, but just recognizing that this individual was not going to be able to help me or go where I was going.
That's wise.
How do you manage work life as an entrepreneur? It's very hard to balance work life and personal life. How do you find that balance? Because going through it can be hard, because right now as a mom and everything, you have all these crazy balances and stuff. But I'm sure as an entrepreneur and personal life, how do you find that balance?
Right. So yeah, that's a great question. When I first quit my first job, or the last time I worked for corporate America, the first 2 weeks were challenging because now I didn't have anywhere to go, and I could sleep a lot and and all that. So it's having a time management is key. So having a schedule, understanding that you have to get up in the morning. By no later than X every day. You have to do it. The earlier the better. It just tends to work for me. Earlier the better. And then just manage your day, structure your day. Because if you don't do it that way, time will get away from you. Now, as an entrepreneur, it's tough to cut it off, because at night you're thinking about it. Sometimes you have to work a little later.
We all got a taste of that during the lockdown, where you're working from home, and where do you draw that line?
Right.
And bosses are texting you at 8, 9 p.m. because they're in the same boat.
Right.
So I understand that challenge.
Yeah.
And you're right. You have to find time for your family and for yourself. At some point, you have to say, I'm off the clock.
Yes.
Henry, what an honor to have you here. I hope we can count on future visits. I feel like we can benefit from your coaching a lot more.
Yeah.
And I think our listeners, our viewers, can benefit from it as well. What words do you have for us? Any final coaching points or any mentorship, any advice you want to give us? What do you have?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I think spreading what you're doing, which is spreading a positive message on, coaching tips and stuff like that, I think is huge, man. You're helping a lot. And even if you just help one person, you've done a lot. You've done positive, something positive for the community. So I think what you're doing, thank you for doing what you're doing and for having me here. In terms of I don't consider myself a mentor or a coach. But I would just say the same thing. Just stay positive, stay strong. Wake up tomorrow with a purpose. Thank God every time you get up. Thank God every time you get up. If you forget to thank Him when you first put your feet down on the ground, at some point during that day, take a moment to say thank you, and and then go to work. Enjoy every moment. Try to enjoy every day. Don't sweat the little things. I know that's easier said than done, but just make sure that you enjoy the fact that you are alive, and be alive. Don't be a freaking 45-year-old guy that died at 22. You know what I mean? Or a 60-year-old guy that died at 40. Live.
Great.
Live your life. Live. Handle that business, and do it responsibly. Have fun. Have fun. Find whatever it is that you like to do, and have fun. And then go to work. Go get your business. Go get your dreams. They're out there waiting. You just got to go get them. I'm going to get them. I'm going to get mine.